Football is a game about territory, where field position is its most valuable commodity. Hence why punting was invented, a temporary surrender which allows teams to pin the other team deep, regroup, and then try to win. But there is another form of calculated retreat that the defense doesn't see coming. The arm punt. Yes, a play so absurd that takes advantage of a defense's lack of situational awareness. I went on a quest to find these very rare instances where a team somehow got the best of both worlds, chucking it deep, getting picked off, and still winning the field position battle. Come with me to find the greatest arm punt of all time. Defining the arm punt. Now, before we set off on our quest for the greatest arm punt ever, let's clearly and concisely define what an arm punt is. Now, my friend Foolish Baseball defined this 6 years ago in a video that states that an arm punt can happen on 3rd or 4th down where a team pins the opposition deep by using the quarterback's arm, where an interception does the job of the punt. However, for this quest, I raised the stakes. I made my arm punt criteria for 4th down only, as in that scenario, batting the ball down would net the defense more yards than intercepting it, barring a return. Yes, intercepting the ball on 3rd down would still flip the field. However, batting it down or deflecting it would give the offense another chance to actually punt. It's when, for the defense, doing the right thing is actually the wrong thing. Now that we have the most basic definition of an arm punt, you'll see later in this video that there are other criteria that would point us towards the greatest arm punt of all time. Setting out. Of course, like many great journeys, I took to Google first to see if someone had already done the work for me or found some of these in the wild. Yes, there are compilation videos of arm punts, but many of them are on 3rd down. So Google yielded nothing other than funny Reddit threads and a few isolated examples, but I knew where I had to go ultimately, and that is StatHead. StatHead is a website by the people over at Football Reference who are geeky about sports stats to the point that they may even chart how many nose hairs Josh McDaniels has. But it's also like a unicycle. You need to practice to use it, and it's not that easy to work, unlike your mom. StatHead and the refined criteria. In order to find arm punts, I had to narrow things down. Unfortunately, this isn't some dynamic search engine where you can just type in intercepted balls thrown over 30 air yards on 4th down. But inside StatHead is a tool called Play Finder where you can narrow down certain fields of information. However, you need to learn how to massage the data in order to get what you want. Now, I will warn you, unfortunately, it only goes back 30 seasons to 1994, and really there isn't much footage available of those games anyways. And for me, it's really important to have footage of these arm punts, or else you just won't believe me if I told ya. Anywho, here were my initial search criteria. First, I had to find interceptions. Luckily, I could select all those that happened on 4th down. Okay. I could also select a range of starting field positions. I took anything from the opponent's 35 back to a team's own goal line, as anything closer than that would likely be a field goal attempt or wouldn't be enough air yards for a healthy arm punt. And finally, here is the best feature, as it allowed me to select pass location, either deep left, deep middle, or deep right. This site is obviously run by males because their definition of deep is pretty generous, but for StatHead, deep is anything over 15 yards. And so I hit get results, and here's what we got. The data. This is kind of a mess in terms of what I was looking for. However, finding plays this esoteric isn't exactly what StatHead is set up for. But in looking through what I got, I saw that there was a pathway to finding good arm punts. Here's what I needed to extract from this raw information. What yard line was the pass thrown from? Where was it intercepted? And when in the game it happened? As again, you will see later, this is actually really important. Finally, I got my list of arm punt beauties, and we had quite a bit. pouring through the data. The first thing I noticed was a lot of these happened at the end of the game, effectively making them failed Hail Marys that ultimately didn't cost the team that arm punted that much, as they were losing anyways. Like this beauty here by Jameis Winston, with his team down 7-40. However, there were only 9 seconds left in the game, so it kind of made it a worthless play. What a beauty from the GOAT of turnovers. I found only one instance of a team arm punting while leading. That was in 2022 when the Arizona Cardinals were up 10-7 and on their own 34. Facing a 4th and 1, instead of actually punting, they went for it, and Kyler Murray chucked it 22 yards down the field, and it was intercepted at the Chargers 44 for no return. This was also rare because it happened early in the second quarter. The Chargers would score on the ensuing drive and later won the game 24-25. Arm punts usually don't get returned, but 3 of them have been run back for TDs, but their air yardage numbers were unimpressive. On January 19th, 2022, the Bears' Andy Dalton chucked a 17-yard arm punt that got picked off and returned 66 yards by Patrick Peterson for a -49 net yardage, the lowest for an arm punt ever. However, 17 air yards is pretty weak. In my opinion, the best arm punt / return combo was on October 29th, 2023, when Patrick Mahomes chucked a 39-yard arm punt into the hands of Broncos defender Justin Simmons, who returned it 33 yards, the ball traversing 72 yards of territory and a net gain of only 6 yards for the Chiefs. It's worth noting that Simmons could have just batted the ball down and his team would have been better off. All that effort cost his team 6 yards. Of the over 100 fourth down arm punts I could find, overwhelmingly, batting the ball down would have been the smarter play, as only 10% of the fourth down arm punts yielded a negative or neutral total net. Is arm punting on fourth down the next big thing? I also discovered that very rarely did a team that arm punted in the fourth quarter ever get the ball back, as like I said before, many of these happened out of desperation by a team that was trailing and, just like your mom's virginity, had nothing to lose. But on December 11th, 2016, Philip Rivers pulled off one of the most immaculate arm punts ever. With 4:03 left in the game, facing a 4th and 10, and on his own 21, Rivers chucked an absolute beauty of an arm punt 54 air yards to the Carolina 27, where Kurt Coleman was downed immediately after intercepting the punt. The Chargers would actually stop the Panthers on the next drive, getting the ball back with about 14 seconds left. They still lost 16-28, but in terms of an effective arm punt, this was actually pretty damn useful. Philip Rivers pulled out all the stops to win the field position battle, and that's the only time he's ever pulled out of anything. Now, before we get into the greatest arm punt of all time, I want to acknowledge the GOAT of arm punting, Ryan Tannehill, who has not one, but 2 arm punts that netted over 50 yards. And they actually both came in the same season. The latter occurred on 11/11/2013, where Tannehill unleashed a 52-yarder that flipped the field late in a 19-22 loss to the Bucks. 2 weeks prior, Tannehill pulled off the second greatest arm punt of all time against the Patriots, and with 55 seconds left, he unleashed this hang time beaut, 57 air yards and 2 return yards for a net of 55. I bet Dolphins fans sure do miss punting like that. So, did I find the greatest arm punt in the history of the NFL? Why, yes. Yes, I did. October 11th, 2020. Inside a sparsely attended Heinz Field because of COVID, the Eagles found themselves down 29-38, facing a 4th and 20 from their own 15. The Eagles decided to go for it and not punt. But oh, did they punt. With 2:18 left in the game, future Super Bowl champ Carson Wentz showed us all the type of skill that he possessed that made him a certified winner, chucking a gorgeous 60-yard arm punt that was intercepted at the Pittsburgh 25 by Steven Nelson for no gain. With the 2-minute warning and 2 timeouts, Mr. Wentz flipped the field and gave his defense a chance to get a stop and maybe make the game a little closer. Narrator: the defense did not get a stop, but the net yardage of 60 yards made NFL history. This was the greatest arm punt humanity has ever seen. By the way, just to reiterate, Steven Nelson could have just batted this ball down and the Steelers would have taken over at the Eagles' 15. But they don't pay interception bonuses for being smart. So when the NFL comes back, be on the lookout for that sweet, sweet arm punt. Finding one might turn your whole life around. Just kidding. Holy shit, did I make a 12-minute video on arm punting and you watched it to the end? Well, please subscribe if you haven't already. You had to have enjoyed this shit. This is some nerdy shit right here. Love you. See you later.